Hi there, everybody. It's Fred Thomas, and you are watching Rideable TV, the home of 80 bikes, frame and wheel, and all things bike. And today I'm going to talk about how I upgraded my TT Carbon to a one-by. But before I do that, let me remind you that 80 Bikes is the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future. And the one way that we are different from all the other great bike companies that are out there is that we have this program called the 80 Bikes Conversion Program. And this program allows you to transform all of the old bikes and frame sets and wheels and components and accessories and racks and trainers and all that stuff, clothing that is piling up into a credit towards a new AD, a TT Carbon, an Ubercross, a Superleicht, or an Ultima, or a Kais, any model you choose. Or you can just turn all that stuff into cash and go off and buy more gear or go out to dinner or buy groceries, all that stuff. That program is run by our other division, Frame and Wheel, and it is a great way to extract the value that remains in your old stuff and create seriously good value on your next bike transaction. And actually, it is a very powerful argument for convincing the Ministry of the Interior that, in fact, you do need another bicycle, because you can say, well, I'm going to be buying this AD, but at the same time, I'm going to be getting rid of those 3 bikes that are hanging from the ceiling and in the garage, all that stuff in the basement, and yep. So one bike comes in, and a lot of stuff goes out. Anyway, you know that it's math. It's the n+1 thing, but minus x plus y, which equals x equals old bikes, y equals old components. But anyway, that's algebra. Let's not do math. If you want to talk about that, you can reach me anytime. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about this upgrade. This is so much fun. I'm very excited about it. Why on earth did I decide to upgrade my TT Carbon to one-by? Well, definitely watching too much Tour de France. I noticed that a lot of the guys in the time trial are running these huge chain rings up front, and they are set up as one-bys. And that gave me the idea. And why not? I think I'm using cue cards. If Phil Gaiman can use cue cards, I can. And also I noticed that I was spinning out my 5511. I had a 5511 on there, and I would spin it out on some of the long gradual downhills, and I actually found that I was really drifting along in the 5511 quite frequently. So that was the other reason for it. And then also I have this double chain ring. I never use the inner ring, ever. I use the inner ring maybe to get out of the driveway, get going. So there was some extra weight there. And now the technology allows it. You can get chain rings that have teeth on them that will make sure that the chain doesn't hop off. And that's an innovation from the past few years when everything's going over to one-by. So it's possible. And then add to that, the look is cool, and there are aero benefits. You don't have a front derailleur on there, as you can see. We'll get into that closer in a minute, but you don't have a front derailleur. You don't have a left shifter, and you're lowering the weight. And the other thing is that the chain is straighter most of the time. The sweet spot in the cassette is not too far to the right, too far to the left. It's much more centralized. So that's why I did it. So let's talk about the math. Sorry, we got to do a little math, but math is fun. Math is cool. And this is bike math, so this is not any kind of math. Here is a table that I did that quantifies the gearing before, after. So I was running an 1123 with a 55, and you just divide 55 by 11, and you come up with this number 5. And what that number means is that for every single revolution of the crankset, the wheel goes around 5 times. That's all that means. And yeah, it's hard to muscle the rear wheel around in a 5511 unless you got a bit of downhill. But that is the baseline. If you change your front chain ring to a 58 like I have here, and you run something similar 1125, you can see that for every single revolution of the crankset, the rear wheel goes around 5.3 times. Doesn't seem like a lot. It's only 5.5%. more. But it is, it is harder. It is harder. And what I've learned from riding it so far is it might be harder to get going and all that, and you may find that that you're running a slightly different lower gear most of the time. But once you get on top of the gear because of a downhill or a tailwind or something, you can really sustain the momentum. You can actually pick up the speed, and before you know it, you're pushing an 11:58. And that 5.5% difference really makes a large difference in your speed. So there's some bike math for you. I'm going to stop sharing that and go back here. So how did I do it? Well, I got a really good mechanic, Mark Drabick at B&S Bike Service in Portland, Maine. He is a pro at working on bikes, and if you've got regular work for your bike, he's a great resource. But he took this project on. And, I can do it, but it would take me weeks. But it took him about a day or two. First thing is to obtain a front chainring. So I used Stone Bikes chain rings. You buy these things on eBay. They have quite a selection. I think you could get a 60 or 62. I'm not sure what one uses a 62, maybe for track. I went with the aluminum just because it's stiffer. I just thought that made sense. You can get carbon and do all that stuff. These seem to work very well. I'm running an FC, a 9,000 crank arm crankset on here, so it's got 4 bolts. The Stone chain rings are available in 4 and 5, and they come with the bolts that you need to fix them on there. Getting it on there was very straightforward. Mark just pulled off the old chain rings, put this on. There was no sort of getting washers or custom stuff like that. What else? And now I'm running an 1125 on the back, and that gives me all the vocabulary I need. It's harder, 5.5% harder. But once you get down towards the, I think it's the 19, 21, 23, 25, it's actually the same or a little bit easier than what I was doing before. So there's that. What is it like? Well, it's fast. And I was riding past couple times. Maybe it's all in my head, but once you get this thing going, it's fast. I mean, I felt like I was closing in on some cars there, but again, I think that was the sort of honeymoon period. You notice that you're in a lower RPM most of the time, and you can really feel the aerodynamics. I think you get more of a reminder that it's important to keep your head down and hunch your shoulders and not to forget about the aero position. I think it's what else can I say about it? It's just you get in the habit of sort of dipping into the 11, sustaining the 11 as much as you can, and then backing off into other gears. And I just have the feeling that if I keep doing this, I'm going to, legs are going to get stronger. I'm going to get accustomed to it, and the speeds are going to pick up. What are the benefits of doing this? I think having a time trial bike around makes you competitive in a stage race where there's a time trial. It broadens your race calendar a little bit. You can go to the local time trial series, and it's great training. I mean, I do a 1 hour effort on this thing, try to go as fast as I can for 1 hour, 30 miles or so. It is really productive. It's more productive than going out and riding my bike for 2 hours around the neighborhood again. I find that you do those efforts enough times, you develop the confidence to attack the group on Saturday morning or at the local crit, and you have the confidence to get off the front and ride aggressively. So it's the I keep saying it's the golden age of time trial bikes, because so many people are switching out of their rim brakes into disc brakes, or they're retiring completely from time trials. So there are a lot of wheels like the Alto CT 311 in the secondary market. There are a lot of deep dish front wheels, rim brake, and that just allows you to build up a fast, affordable, and practical time trial bike like the TT Carbon. You're not being confronted with the sort of proprietary technology that so many time trial bikes have right now, and the integrated headsets for bars and all that stuff. This is this is still a straightforward rim brake time trial bike, and the straightforward bars, and all you really need is the right wheels, some good gearing, and a good fit. So you go take your bike down to Fitworks in Massachusetts or Vermont and get a fit done. Between those three things, you can end up with a really fast time trial bike, and it will broaden your mind and your cycling. I want to take one last look at an image here, and this was my favorite part of this whole exercise. And here it is. Look at that. You don't need the left shifter anymore. And we now have these AD bikes bar plugs. What better place to put them? But right there. You can't really see it because my hand is on it, but when the bike is in the stand or lying around, it works really well. So that is that. If you are interested in the time trial, in the TT Carbon, you want to get it set up, I am standing by to help you get a time trial bike, TT Carbon, put together. And I'll be, as usual, really very willing and ready to answer questions. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and email and the telephone, and you can reach out at any time. So there you go. That's all I have for now.